Hi guys, this is Wave 618 and this is a Elliott wave tutorial on flat patterns. So when we talk about flat patterns, we're talking about corrective patterns. Of corrective patterns, there are a few different variants. So we have flat patterns, then we have zigzags, and we also have triangles. Then we also have more complex patterns which may involve more than one corrective pattern joined by what we call an X-wave. That's slightly beyond the scope of this video, so I won't go into it just now. We'll focus on the flat patterns, which, as you can see here, I've referred to as a 335 wave count. What that means is it's made up of an A, B, C, and the subwave count of A is 3 waves, the subwave count of B is 3 waves, and the subwave count of C is 5 waves. So let's start by drawing what we call a regular flat, and I'll explain why we call that a regular flat. So if we draw A like this, B like this, and C like this, generally with any flat pattern, A will be equal to C in terms of the length of the wave. So if A is like that, C will come to the same level right here, just like that. So A will equal C in these flat patterns. Now the wave count, let's do a subwave count. So whenever you see a subwave count of 3, we would label that in a corrective way. So we use letters, which is A, B, C. That's one thing that's important to remember. Whenever we're labeling impulse waves, we use numbers. For example, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we're doing corrective waves, we use A, B, C. Now when we're doing this subwave count, the A wave is a corrective pattern because it's only made of 3 legs. A, B, C. Now the next wave, again, is made up of 3 waves, so we'll label that A, B, C. And then the final leg, the C leg, is actually impulsive because that's made of 5 legs. So typically it will look something like this, 5 legs down. Now this leg is very interesting, it catches a lot of people out. People see 5 legs down and think, hang on, is this an impulse wave and the start of a new trend downwards? Because when you see an impulse wave, generally impulse waves follow the direction of the larger trend. So when you see 5 legs down, you have to think, is this the start of a new trend down? Are we going to see 5 legs down followed by 3 waves up followed by 5 legs down? However, you have to analyze what's happened beforehand. If you've seen 3 waves down here, 3 waves up, you can expect it just to complete this flat pattern by forming this impulsive 5 legs down, and then from there the correction pattern has finished this regular flat, which means we're about to see a new impulse leg like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so with all these flats you see this 335 subwave count. So let's just remove these subwaves so it's a bit clearer. Now the only difference between these flat patterns, whether it's a regular, running or expanded flat, is essentially where B and C are positioned in relation to A. So in a running flat, what you'll get, instead of B coming up to where A started, it will actually go a little bit higher. And the C wave, because as I say, C is equal to A, will come to around here. Yeah, assuming we'd use our fib extension to determine where C would come down to, because C would be equal to A. So if that's the length of A, we'll do a fib extension from B. C would be there on the 1-to-1 line. So that was a running flat right there. Now, an expanded flat is a little more complicated, And in fact, in an expanded flat, A is not equal to C. I'll explain exactly what that looks like now. So if this is A, B, again, like in a running flat, will come up higher than where A started, and then C will actually come down lower than A. So we call it expanded flat because the pattern is expanding. Yeah, this is getting wide, making the whole correction pattern wider, and again it's getting wider to the lower end here. So we say that the move is expanding with time. Yeah, that's why it's labeled an expanded flat. Now there are some important fib levels to determine where we can expect B and C to finish in an expanded flat. So for example, if we calculate the length of A, so let's do it from here. If this is A, B typically comes up to the 1.382 of A, and then if we take this fib extension down, or let's draw it another way, let's do a fib extension again. Let's take the length of A. C will be a 1.618 extension of A, so C would come to here. Yeah, so it's following our principle of expanded flat, where the waves are getting bigger each time. Yeah, A is this length, and B is a 1.382 extension of A, and C is a 1.618 extension of A. Yeah, this forms what we call an expanded flat. So these are our three different flat patterns, and depending on where the flat is occurring, typically these flat patterns occur more in a wave 4. So in an impulse wave, that's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we usually see these expanded flats, if we were to do a sub-wave count, usually in this wave. Yeah, we've got two corrective waves here. There's a wave 2 and a wave 4. So typically wave 2 forms what we call a zigzag, and it's quite an aggressive move down, whilst wave 4 usually takes a lot longer to form, and that's where you often see these flat patterns. You often see triangles. So for example, this wave 4 may look something like this. So this is what we call a regular flat. Yeah. Alternatively, it may form a running flat. So A would come down to here, B here, and then C up here. And would actually label the end of wave 4 here, because this is where wave 5 starts. That would be a running flat. And then last but not least, would have an expanded flat. So with an expanded flat, you'd have A coming down, B coming higher than where A started, and C coming down even lower than where A finished. Yeah, and then you'd put your end of 4 here. Yeah, so typically it's in wave 4 that you see these flat patterns. Also in wave 4 you often see triangles, and in the wave 2 you more commonly see zigzags. I'll go into these other corrective patterns, which are zigzags and triangles, in other videos, but I just want to show you essentially where you can be most likely to expect these flat patterns. So yeah, but as I say, depending on whether you're in a wave 2 or a wave 4, that will determine how far the retracement pattern comes. For example, as mentioned in my last video, wave 4s typically come down to the 38.2 retracement of wave 3. which would be here. So you can expect your expanded flat to finish at the 38.2. However, it can finish at any level providing it doesn't overlap with wave 1. Yeah, as per the rules of Elliott wave, which were discussed in the previous video about correction and impulse waves. So yeah, that essentially sums it up for correction, or not correction waves, but flat pattern correction waves. So it's a 3-3-5 pattern where A and B are made up of 3 waves each, and wave C is made up of 5 waves, which looks very impulsive, catches a lot of people out. People think trend is reversing because they see that impulsive wave. However, it's actually just the final leg of the corrective wave. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. That sums up flat patterns, and yep, we will be making more videos looking more specifically at triangles and zigzags, which are the other variants of corrective patterns. Alright, I'll leave it there.